Mr. Lamborn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and the ranking member for your leadership. Secretary Gibson, although I'm glad to see in your written statement that the VA is, quote, committed to doing what is right for the veterans in the Colorado region and completing this major construction project without further delay, unquote, I'm still deeply disturbed and disappointed by the additional time and money that it's going to take. Thanks to recent legislation and a reallocation of funds, we are now good through the end of the fiscal year, but much more remains to be funded. This is a critical facility that our Colorado veterans have earned and need, and I remain committed, along with my colleague Representative Kaufman and others, to ensure that we bring this project to completion. However, as we're sitting here talking about budget shortfalls and mismanagement, I have to ask, where is the accountability? When we have poor management, whether it's forecasting the budget or whether it's poor construction projects, where's the accountability? We've given you additional legislative authorization, you and the Secretary, and we really don't see that being used. Where is the accountability, Mr. Gibson?
If you look back at, as I have, at the entire chain of command from the Secretary all the way down to the project engineer, I believe there's only one person that was substantively involved in the project who still remains at VA, and I think that is the project, not project engineer, but project executive. There's been an AIB that is now in the process of wrapping up. I think we've talked earlier in this committee about early evidence that was gathered by that AIB, which was being used to prepare charges against a senior executive who then retired in the face of that impending personnel action. A similar process happened recently with the senior attorney that was involved very heavily in Denver. And I expect the AIB to wrap up very quickly, and we will consider the evidence raised by the AIB for any additional individuals that are still on the payroll in the department.
Okay, thank you. And also, Secretary Gibson, you've asked for additional flexibility in allocating your funds, but haven't provided what I believe is the supporting data needed for that. More importantly, I want to ensure that there isn't the impression that the VA has decided to fund the Denver hospital project ahead of hepatitis C treatment or any other veteran medical care. That won't be the case, will it, and can you clarify?
Certainly there's not any intention to trade off Hep C care for Denver. We've gone through a whole series of proposals on Denver, starting with what I continue to believe was the best proposal for veterans and for taxpayers, which was to utilize construction funds, non-recurring maintenance and minor construction, that were provided as part of the $5 billion under choice. That got nowhere. There were other alternatives considered where we would reprogram dollars from major construction projects that aren't due to start construction for 3 years or 4 years. That got nowhere. We've looked at alternatives to reduce or to move proposed funds in 2016 from non-recurring maintenance and minor construction. That got nowhere. So what we finally gotten to is the tactic of an across-the-board cut with an intention that VA would have the time over the course of the year to be able to manage those reductions on a very micro level, so that we ensure that we are not adversely impacting veteran care.
Well, I want to speak for myself, and I'm sure every member of the committee would agree. We can't do anything, any fix that in any way compromises veterans' health